Hey ML, how are you doing? Yeah, we're gonna be doing some painting today actually because I did some sketches of Nathaniel and I'm gonna go ahead and paint, and I was having some audio issues because I wanted to be started about 10 minutes earlier. I think I'm gonna try to stream Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 Eastern Time. Still learning the ropes with this, so just bear with me here. Queldar 27. All right, man. It's good seeing you guys. I appreciate y'all coming and watching this. I'm doing great. Doing great. Doing really good. Just trying to figure this out. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second. I wanted to get started with this, and I can actually see chat better. I've been working on like a new system. Camera. So I'm here. I gotta make sure I can flex though. I have to flex. You know, we gotta make sure you see me flexing. Just kidding. But working on the view. You're famous now, Queldar 27. Yes, you are. To all 8 of us who watch it, which is good. You know, I like the small groups. Honestly, I really do. I really do, because you can be more personal with them. All right, so, palette knife. Sorry, I have my setup like all kind of mixed up here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start just by sketching in the drawing. I'm going to do it with just with paint. It's more of a color study. I'm just going to sketch it in paint and just monochrome at first. And then I'm going to probably switch this camera and bring it right here where there's my painting palette so y'all can actually see me mixing when I get to the color phase of it. Yeah, they are pure chaos, and y'all know me, like, so far I've been distracted reading the comments. I need to get used to that. I mean, if there was 1,000 people, I'd spontaneously combust. How do you clean how do I clean my oil palette? Great question. Basically, just get all my paint off. I wipe all the paint off. I save it. I basically put it on a little tray, and I put that in the freezer to slow the oxidation process down. And then from there, I'll go through and scrape all the paint off. And I clean it with a little bit of vegetable oil. I just make sure to get all of it off. I just add a little bit on. And then I spread it around with my palette knife to save some oil, because if you use a napkin or a paper towel, it absorbs it immediately. So after it's all spread around, the paint's, you know, loosened up, I go through and just wipe it off. I keep on wiping it off until it's clean, and that's it. And I always clean mine just so it doesn't get stained. It's much easier for me. All right, guys. So y'all just have to bear with me just a second here. I'm making sure I don't spill anything. Everything's a little bit weird. I should put this. No, I'll just do that. This and brushes. This is the light. There we go. Start with a bigger brush. Excuse me. All right. No. I was not good at math. Kind of. I'm not an idiot, but I'm the type of person who made careless errors because I was always not wanting to be in the classroom. But I would know, up until I would say that it got into using like that calculator or whatever it is that we used doing all those weird equations, and I was pretty decent, I would say, through 9th, 10th grade, but then I just went downhill. Yeah, I invented math. I wish, man. I invented my own math, and that didn't fly in school. Okay, I have a system set up. I just messed it up. But I bounce back fast with this. Okay. Pop out, initiated, and I bring this down like so, and then bring this up. So now I can see chat and what I'm drawing and painting at the same time. So I should not be as distracted. I can just look back and forth, just shift my eyes, a slight shift, and I think we're good. I wonder if there's like a sound effect app when I paint. It like makes explosions. It'd be pretty sweet. Yeah, it is dry. It's been dry for some time. I'll prepare these things in batch. This is gonna be weird. Do you have your art up somewhere? I have my website, and then on Instagram I have them speckled about. So basically right now, I'll show you all the palette. It's just I'm mixing one color, so it's not really important right now, but I'm basically mixing a black and a little bit of cadmium red. You could do a raw umber, which would probably be even better, or a burnt sienna, just something for a monochrome color, just a simple color. So the main thing is we're doing the same thing I've been doing the last couple of streams, which is drawing, but I'm doing it in paint. Now, there are several different ways of doing this, and when you first start, I don't recommend just painting. This is more of how you would approach a color study, but since I'm so advanced and I look down upon all these mere steps, and they're useless to me because I'm so smart, I skip past them, right? But for the average peasant out there, they want to stick with them because their brains are smaller. I think that's the best explanation I can give. What colors are on my palette? So basically this is a limited palette, kind of, with the exception of two colors. Basically it's ivory black, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, which I don't really need, but I use that, and cadmium red, and then yellow ochre and titanium white, which I could substitute for lead white or flake white. It's just you kind of have to alter your mixing and paint application a little bit with that. But the titanium white is very strong. It's a very strong white, very strong tinting power, and I've been using it right now just because I had a lot of tubes of it, and I like how it looks. It's good to switch things up once you learn as much as you can about whatever color you're using. The limited palette, and I don't know who it was. Somebody had asked me about the Zorn palette, and I went through and looked at it. It's black, vermilion, or a type of red, yellow ochre, and white, and that's actually how I learned. And I could do a painting with that. So the palette's like up on an easel right now, and so I have to make sure the colors don't slide down it. All right, basically I want to make sure, y'all just, look, I don't have my window up for the actual painting, so let me know if my headlight blocks a shot or something. I'm pretty sure we're good. I'm kind of painting at an angle here, so it might be a little bit odd, but it was the best way to get light. And the other thing is too, sorry, I'm not sure about the reflection, and that's something I'll have to experiment with. Yeah. And what was that, ML? That was a very good question, because I went through and I looked into it, and it's actually how I trained. I just wasn't aware that Zorn was like one of the initiators of it. I probably was, but it's been so long. It's been so long. Nathaniel, the tormented soul. This guy's really cool. I'm doing I think I told you all I'm doing a life-size. It's now life-size. I made it life-size, a life-size portrait of him. And time is of the essence because he wants to trim his beard. And he's going to the beach next week. He's one of my good friends. here in Winston. He was kind enough to pose, and he grows his beard out in the summer. And I said, dude, we have to do a painting of you while you still have that beard. And I'll do like a Viking painting. I have a Braveheart sword. It's a real Braveheart sword. Mead and winches. Yes. I've had mead. Have you had mead? Mead's good. I want to learn to make mead. Yeah, ML, it is from a live model. You live to regret it. This is from a live model. This was my good friend Nathaniel, and I took these pictures, I think, a couple days ago, like last week. Hey, Yuri. Oh, shoot. That stinks. Yeah, Yuri, I want your feedback as to when you would like me to live stream if you're going to come in. And I can't promise that I'll do anything, but y'all tell me like when good times for y'all are. I'm in North Carolina, which is Eastern time in America, and America. So that's what I go off of. But I can always, y'all say, you know, in a different country or wherever you'd like it this time. I can try to do special streams for you guys since y'all are so kind to me. And my schedule is, it's tough, but it's relatively still flexible. This goes down further to yay, ear. Let's get the ear in quicker than I did last time. Head. Okay, the ear would be this high. I wanted to put it lower, but that would have been wrong. Right across there. So I'm going right there. Ear's about, if I'm looking at this point, assuming this is correct, then the ear's going to be a little bit higher, maybe down a little bit. This width is too much. Bring that in. Some, maybe. That comes up. So, so easily. Oh, ML, you're from Germany. That's so cool, man. I mean, it's awesome how you can be. I've been to Germany before a couple times, Munich and several other places that I can't remember. I got lost in Germany once. Oh, that was horrible. I didn't. Fortunately, my friend knew some German. I know Italian, but German, no. Okay, you have noon. Okay, so like 12 o'clock Eastern would be good anytime after 5 p.m. on weekends and okay, weekdays and weekends, anytime. Okay, I have evenings here in Germany. Okay, and it's evening in Germany, right? I think y'all are 6 hours ahead. 5 or 6. I think. What time is it over in Germany right now, ML? It's 5, right. So it's like a 6-hour difference. It's the same as Italy, I think. Italy's 6-hour difference, I'm pretty sure. So y'all go off military time. So it's you say it's 5 o'clock. It's 1700. And Germany is like so precise. When I was in Italy and I was traveling, nothing was on time. Nothing was ever on time. Sword, maybe. No. But like Germany is just precision, which is scary awesome. Nova Scotia in Canada. Wow. Yuri. Wait a second. Wait, ML in Germany. Wait, Queller, you're from Holland though, right? I misread that as German time is 5 o'clock. What time is it in Germany right now? So you're in Holland though, right? Okay, cool. Okay, you're in Holland, and it's 5 o'clock in Holland. So I still don't know what time it is in Germany. I'm assuming it's like 5 or 6. So I'm just trying to get an impression right now of what I'm doing. And in paintbrush strokes, you can work. Hey, Barack, how are you doing? See, in paint, you can get the impression much quicker, but essentially all the things that I showed y'all with drawing, I'm just compressing, and I could go through and hatch it out with lines, which I did to some degree, but not as much with the painting, obviously, because I got this. This is a larger brush, and let's see, this is a Winsor & Newton. It's a hog hair, and it's worn down. It's probably like a 10. This is a 5. Seems like a little bit big for a 5, but anyway. Awesome. Good to hear, Barack. Yes, welcome. Lamo Art, hey. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the coolest stream ever. It's the coolest stream ever. All right, so is this, there's not going to be a reflection yet on this, guys, but I'm hoping that there won't be at all. And if there is, I might try to shift the drawing around if it's really bad, or the camera. It has to do with the lighting in the studio, and the lighting is very strange. I mean, lighting's tricky. Sometimes there's a light shining on something you don't know where it's coming from. Soften this. So we're still working with line quality and shapes. Right now, I'm not thinking like model. I'm thinking just get the white shapes, get the dark shapes, get them basic. I don't need to push them as dark as they are right now, but as you can tell, I'm kind of keeping it very atmospheric in some places where there's the form recedes into the background, which is quite nice. And places like the nose, I'll go through and make it pop after a while. And so for all of those you guys who just came in, basically I'm just painting with a mixture of black and red right now just to get the drawing. Then I'm going to go in with color, and I have like I can take this camera, which is the better quality camera, and I'll put it on my palette when I start mixing the paint. For now, I'll just keep it on me because there's not really anything going on in the palette. And if y'all want to see me, I have it set up so my webcam. I don't have it like initiated in the stream yet, but I can turn that on if y'all really want it. But but it's your call. You just, guys, let me know what you want. So I don't really need to go through, I'm not going to really get all the details with this brush yet. I'm going to worry more about getting, like if I want to go through and shape the nose, I'll do that with color. I'll do that with light, right? So there's a degree of shaping and drawing that I will do when I start putting the color in. So it's not like I don't just go through and get the drawing correct. You want to get it as correct as you can, but then you don't just simply go and just fill it in. You're constantly correcting. You're constantly correcting. And so how do I know when to move on to that phase? When I have the drawing as close as I can. Like when it gets pretty close, I'm like, okay, I can go from here. It's going to be accurate enough for me to continue on. So once I get the drawing, once I get the proportions in the ballpark, then I'll move on. Yeah, I'll move this camera to my palette once I start doing the color. My painting palette where you'll see all the colors. Lemo Art, when you did Barg students, did you use a string or a needle for measuring? So both are viable. I used a string because, let's see, I mean, both are viable. But the string, you can have like a really long string with it and, you know, wrap it up. It's fun to twirl. I don't know. I mean, I use a string. Both are viable. You can do both. I'm going to soften this. So this is just like a regular Viva paper towel. A Viva is a very nice soft paper towel, but it doesn't matter what it is. There we go. It's just something to wipe with. Barack, yeah, that would be great. I'd like to see the colors you use and how you mix them. Good. You will. So basically I used, when I first started, and this is how I recommend starting, I just started because it was a figure drawing, and you can get away with this doing a lot of different subjects with this type of palette. It's just black, red, yellow, and white. And the reason why I like the limited palette is because, especially when you first start, it forces you to learn those colors. You realize you don't need all the colors on the rainbow or in the world to produce a lot of paintings. And so you learn how to push colors, and that's so invaluable in your work. And it taught me a lot. Now, having said that, there are certain colors and you know, that you can't get, right? So there is a limit to it, but that's okay. That's all right, you know. But that's how we learn. So it's very good, I think, to start out with a limited palette. Just keep it very simple. So it's the Zorn palette. Yeah, basically it is. Basically it is the Zorn palette. That's how we were trained at the academy. And I had to be reminded of that fact, which I shouldn't have forgotten, but they always called it the limited palette. Called it the limited palette. So, you know, so basically I use that, and then I've added alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue to it. For various reasons, just to tweak things. Sometimes I substitute blue for black, but when you're starting, I don't recommend that. And alizarin crimson, you can still, just use a basic red. You don't need 3 or 4 reds. You don't even need 2. I have 2 here, but if y'all like, I can just use the limited palette to do this one. I can definitely get this painting off the limited palette. Which Barg plates did I copy? I don't know the names of them. I'd have to show you. There was about 7 or 8 at least that I did. And you know what? For fun, I'll do one on this on stream live at some point. I'll do one on live. I think it's been long enough where I'm not like, I don't have a seizure when I think about it. Those things, when you do them all the time, it's just like, You're never, it's always, the teacher would come up and say, yeah, this looks okay, and they're being nice. But this part right here is that far off. Can't you see it? I'm like, no. No, it's 11 o'clock in the morning and I want to go for a drink already. That's how I feel. That's how it was. But you learn a lot. It's a great exercise. Okay. So as you can tell, I'm squinting a whole lot. And I do that just to keep it simple, to flush out any unnecessary information. I don't need to go through and start detailing everything. Y'all have heard me say this before. We're just trying to get the light impression, the big shape. I think the angle's okay. Actually, mine might look a little bit more. Nah, the angle's in the ballpark there. I'm looking at the painting kind of from an angle here so I don't block this camera. And then I have the actual face right here in front of me. So I'm trying to get it as accurate as I can. There's a little bit of perspective warp to me, but not that much. So I don't have an excuse. I just like making them. Quildar 27, can you explain what a Bargue plate is? Basically, Charles Bargue was an artist back, I think, in the 1800s, and he put together a lesson plan. He did a lot of plates and copies of sculptures in a very ideal manner for learning. Simplicity of line, clarity of shadow shape, shadow line, form, in varying degrees of difficulty. And the academic schools, among various courses, chose him, or rather, it was a very popular course. And so there's the Charles Bargue drawing book. It's like this red book. It's thick. Right underneath my computer here, helping stack the computer up. So I can't show you, because otherwise it would screw my thing up. I could probably show you. But I'll do that in another time when I'm more organized for that. But yeah, you definitely want, if you're serious about academic work, you definitely want a copy of that book. And what I do, and I still teach my students this, I'll go through and have them print up a Bargue drawing, size on a normal sheet of paper. Bigger the better. You don't want it huge, especially at first. But I'll have them copy it because it's much easier to copy something two-dimensional than it is three-dimensional. You don't have to translate, the three-dimensionality of it. So it's a great learning method. When you're first starting, it's great. And it's perfect for these concepts that we're trying to teach, because a lot of them are very complex. And complex, it's more difficult to do, right? It's an unnatural way of thinking when you're not used to it. And so there's a lot of things you have to keep in mind, a lot of concepts. There's a lot of learning. All right, guys. I think there's definitely... You know what? I'm going to fill in the background, kind of. There's definitely more than I can do here, but for the sake of not having my streams like super, super, super long, I'm going to go through and I'll start coloring this in a second. And I completely lost the drawing up there. Good job. It happens. So I'm just thinly brushing this on. Just thinly, thinly, thinly. Exactly, limo art, exactly. You learn proportions and such on those Bargue plates. That's a very good point. And method of construction, you really learn about a lot of the theory and perspective. You learn you learn to pick out how artists turn a drawing on a two-dimensional surface. And it helps train your eye and your brain to see subtle proportions, and that's such a huge thing, So each drawing that you do, you always want to strive to make it good. But don't make the mistake that drawing, how it looks at the end, is the end of all things. Really, the point, especially in the beginning, is that each drawing you do, you should be practicing your brain. You should be exercising your brain. It's like going into the gym, right? And you're exercising your brain so that you're able to do this type of work, right? You want to be able to see proportions, whether it's in sculpture, whether it's in whatever, painting. So I'm just very thinly, I don't even need to be using medium. I'm using walnut oil just because. I don't really care. I mean, I could use linseed oil. I'm using walnut oil for this particular one. There's no like magic medium that's going to make you great. They have different effects. I totally recommend experimenting with mediums. Totally. That proportion might be a little bit off. So I'm not trying to undermine the value of mediums. I'm just saying when you first start, the main thing is do those bar drawings. Do those bar drawings and learn the basics the right way. In whatever way that you subscribe to, stick with it. Don't just switch unless you're like, okay, this really does not work. But go with the proven method, especially the academic style. Find an academic way of learning and stick with it. And also let me know if I blocked the screen. I don't think I have so far. Okay. So we're going to try to get the impression here a little bit. Check this out. Get some of the paint off. There we go. Just dull this down just a little bit. So essentially when I squint down, I'm trying to get, at least at this degree of values, the same feeling, the same shape feeling as I get from the actual photo that y'all see, which I forgot again to put the reference so y'all can download it. I need to figure out how to do that, by the way. I'm like the type of person who's not technologically savvy until he needs to be. Go through, and so we can soften, you see, we can smear it some, or we can totally take it up if we want. Can totally take it up. I'm just using my thumb here and pressing into it. Sometimes I'll double the paper towel up like this, and I can go in, you know, if I want to, kind of go in like that. And so you can draw. This is how I kind of draw things down. I keep it very basic. As you can tell, I'm not throwing the paint down here, right? And the shape's not quite there, but that's okay. We'll get it. We'll get it. But the more accurate you get this stage, the easier you're going to have later on. I always encourage becoming as good as you can at drawing. That's the most important thing in the world. In art, you have to know how to draw. Not just like, oh, cool technique, seeing proportion. These are important things, understanding the theory behind why you do it, the different degrees of perspective that you can use to make something work, to make it pop. Okay, so, Barack, am I the only one who finds the sound of brush touching canvas extremely satisfying and relaxing? I do have to go to the bathroom already, so maybe not. It's like music to your ears, Barack. The Belvedere torso is the best plate. That is a good plate. And then Quadrar 27, most important thing to me is enjoying it. Yeah. And Quadrar, I'm going to say this, I'm not doing this to discourage you. If you go into drawing and painting, and especially when you go into the academic side and it loses its romance because it's just like it's becoming work to you, and you have to get past that hump. Just don't stop, even when it becomes tiring or feels like it's not fun. It will get that way. But sometimes this type of work, especially when you push yourself and you can't, it's like intellectually you know what you need to do, but you can't do it. Stick with it and give yourself time. And I mean a lot of times, sometimes it takes a year or two of getting over a hump, but just stick with it. Just stick with it and you'll enjoy it. And you have to work, sometimes you have to work on enjoying it too. And that does work. It's not, not trying to scare you or anything, but I love painting, but there have been times before that I'm like, oh, I questioned about 3 times very strongly in my life whether I was supposed to paint or not. And 2 of those times happened after I was trained. So, that was too sharp. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, guys. We are going to, let me check how this looks on the screen. I'm going to swing this camera around, okay? And we're going to start painting in oil. Exactly Lemo art. If you draw more, you will be better in painting. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. You have more potential of being good at painting. You're absolutely right. You're correct. Okay. All right, so I just want to say, I just checked the feed, and how the drawing is coming up on the feed, because of the angle of the canvas, the drawing is like tilted too far. But to my eye, the drawing, like the angle's correct, but to y'all, it looks like a little bit more turned. Okay? I'll try to fix that in the future. I don't quite know how yet. We'll fix that in the future, but just bear with me with that angle. The angle's a little bit off, which is unfortunate because this is all about angles. But fortunately for this, we get to see the color. So we're going to get into the color. I'm going to take this camera. I'm going to swing it around. Do y'all want me to turn my webcam on and kind of place it maybe down around this area right here so you can see me, or do you not care that you see me? Like, what do y'all want? To be honest, I don't find drawing as much fun as I find painting, the painting process. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Everybody's different. And in fact, it might be the most boring part of painting for me. Huh, interesting. You know, I used to hate painting. I used to hate still lives. And that changes over time the more you do it, but everybody's different. Everybody's different. Guys, I'm going to start switching this. Y'all let me know if you want the webcam on. The webcam, the quality is okay. It's not as good as this, though. This is my iPhone, and at this phase in my streaming / YouTube, I'm limited in my equipment. You know, I don't have all the fancy stuff yet. I will at some point. Okay. All right. Let's switch this. Watch me knock everything over here. Up. Actually switch to this so I see what I'm doing. Ugh. Okay. I'm gonna move that. Here. Okay, this is looking okay. That. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually experiment with the webcam really quick. It's going to look bad, though, I think. It's going to go up top at first. This might not even work. So I have this. I don't even know if this is worth it. That seems really cluttered. Oh, wait. Shoot. There we go. How's that? Oh, eh. 1, 2. Okay, and then I don't know. I don't see y'all's chat if y'all are writing anything. 1 second. It'll just be a weird face right here. This might be too much. This might be too much. This is like the worst setup ever. We'll figure it out. Oh, let me see. Okay. I think that's okay. I just can't hit it. Okay. Where's my palette knife? Okay, it looks good. All right. All right, so I'm gonna keep this simple, and I'll go through and show you how I mix. I actually did I did a video on this as well, on mixing colors, so y'all should check it out if you haven't. I try to make them entertaining. Okay, so how about this? How about, see, I have black, ultramarine blue, there's alizarin, that's cadmium red, yellow ochre. Now, these are colors I mixed. Orange, I mixed between those two. I mixed a purple. Essentially, I used alizarin crimson and blue to mix the purple. And that's so I can cool things down if I need it cooled. Or rather, make them purple, make them green, make them orange. And that essentially cuts out a step of having to go through and mix too much. And so I'm going to mix about, let's see, about four more piles of paint or so, and then I'll be mixing in between with a brush to get his face. And we'll use limited palette. So I tell you what, I'll rule out, I won't use blue or alizarin, okay? I'll try not to, because sometimes when you're mixing spontaneously, I might forget. All right, so here's the, it's about there. Okay. This is weird because it's like I have it propped up on an easel. Not really used to it. That's actually too dark. And so essentially what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get the field color, which is the colors that are most repeated. It's the basic overall color of Nathaniel in this photograph. Okay, Barack, your palette looks very similar to mine. I'm using a split primary palette with an earth color, generally burnt umber. Cool, man. I'll have to try that, actually. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. There for now. So this value right here, I might add just a touch of white to it, but the idea is I kind of like trying to push myself to get as light as I can without adding much white, because it gives more, a little bit more color into the work. So you can really push those midtones, which is nice, but for this I'll just add just a little touch, which is okay. It's not going to make too much of a difference. So the idea is in painting, you're going to have warms, you're going to have cools, you're going to have color with more chroma, it's a technical term, but it's more vibrant color, or you're going to have grayer values, and those gray values play off the more vibrant values, the color values. So vibrant color plays off cooler color. The cooler color will make the vibrancy of the color right next to it pop. And you can turn form that way, and you can enhance color that way, and it's actually a pretty cool little trick. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to mix a little bit more of the secondary. We have our orange here, so I can try to be a little bit more spontaneous. I try not to, there's a little part of the camera here that's sticking out, like the holder that essentially turns the camera. I need to make sure I don't hit that, because that would be good. Warmer. Let's get a little bit more red, just a little. Try not to cheat and get that alizarin. So we'll be working with a limited palette. This is how I was trained to do it. Keep it simple. And you know, future streams, what have you, I'll show you some cool tricks with some other colors, but especially if you're first starting, like I said, just keep it simple and know. You don't want to put too much on your plate at first. All right, so we're using black. We're not using blue. At this point, I would be using some blue, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so we're using some black. I might put a little bit too much on. I might take a little bit off, and we're going to put a little bit more orange and a little bit more red for what I see there. And we're going to go through and take a little bit more. Like I said, I put a little bit here. Take a little bit more titanium white, and this stuff is powerful, as you can tell. It really just brightens it up, more so than the lead white. Lead white is a very opaque paint. It blocks the light going down to the surface of the work. So it's a nice color value. Whoops. Oops, there. I'm just going to darken it just a little bit to bring it a little bit closer in value to that. So to do that, we don't just simply add black and then leave it. As a lot of you guys might know, if you just do that, it's going to gray it out, and I'll show you. It kind of grays it, right? There's color in midtones. There's color in midtones. So if you're going to darken something, do two steps. Add the dark. You see, that's gray. Add the dark, and then add the color. Okay? A little bit more color. And then I added a little bit more red. And so you can really push the vibrancy of it. Now, having said that, it's okay to have kind of a neutral value. Like, I don't want to push it too far. And these are, I think, more on the yellowish looking side. It's not as much pink, but I can always, you know, gray it out some and make it a little bit redder if I want to. Lemo art, the three most important things about painting: value, hue, and chroma. Value, hue, and chroma. Oh, man. Very wise, Lemo. Guys, it's like doing this. Okay. Shows you I'm kind of out of shape. So my right shoulder is not in the best shape right now. Okay. Do a little bit. We're taking just, now at this point, I'm going to take just a touch of black, just a touch. Right there, and I didn't even use all of that. I'm going to put that over in this pile there. If I need more, I can get more, and we're going to use more. I don't want to use too much of that orange. I'm going to go through and make it a little bit, warm that up a little bit. That might be, that should be good. And then I'm going to use more titanium white there. You see that? So you get the idea, right? We're trying to maintain the color intensity, or rather the proper ratio from value to value. That's essentially what we're trying to do. All right, so that's maybe a little bit more grayed out than I want it to be. That's a nice, I like that value. It's a nice, soft flesh tone. So y'all are getting the ideas. These are just like off the, not even all the primary colors. I mean, black you can use as a cooling agent, because if you go through and mix black into something, black into white, kind of, depending on what brand, I have found, cools it down, cools the paint down some, which is kind of cool. I could make that a little bit more vibrant. I'm going to leave it for now. I'll leave it for now, and you can modify the colors as you go back to it. And then finally, last one, I'll just start with the white and such there. It's trying to make sure it doesn't drip or fall down. Okay, and then this one, I don't put any black in it. I just go through and just put like, and you don't even need a lot. In the light areas, you don't have a lot of color. Not as much as you have in the midtones. So this goes a long way. Make sure I don't get any of the other one. Okay, here we go. Don't need so much color. And like I said, I'm going to mix with my brush between all this stuff. Add a little bit more here, just a touch of the red. Make this kick. We want this to be nice and light, but push the color in it some, the chroma. you want it to have a very light, a light value. I do a little bit more. See, that cadmium just eats it up. Just a little bit more. It doesn't matter because, like, honestly, the lightest light is on his forehead, as you can tell. It'll be on his forehead. The ear's slightly behind it, the earlobe. But this is fine. This is fine. Okay. There we go. Let's see how you can see that. Let me check the screen because I don't know how this is appearing. Doing your figure studies while I paint. Quilt Art 27. Excellent. Good. Limo art. If you look at abstract art, it's all about those three. Yeah. Do a Borg copy right now. Sweet. Awesome. Quilt Art 27. When you include composition in the list. And then at Jackson Pollock. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. You guys have that little conversation here. I'm going to figure the stream out. So I'm almost about to block it. Okay. Let me see if I can. Those colors look very light. Let me try something here, guys. Give me 1 second. They look very washed out, and it's just maybe if I can get a different angle on this. Bring this up. I don't know if this is going to work. And then I'm going to tilt this down. That really doesn't help. I think it's just the iPhone. It's just very washed out. I'll have to figure this out. I'm trying to, like on the phone, it looks a little bit better. I know I can mess with the settings within the streaming program, but it wasn't working for some reason. Anyway, y'all get the idea. All right. All right, guys. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to go through and put a slight key on it just so I know the value range which I'm working. Now, in a normal painting, you might wait, and build the phase up. You might do a transfer drawing before you get to this phase, what have you, and transfer that drawing onto this, and then slowly build the values up over a couple days. But for the sake of the stream, all right, there's our lightest light, our darkest dark. We're going to key between, and we're going to try to get the color values while correcting the shapes at the same time. So I'll be doing a lot of squinting. And I'll use a couple different brushes. I'm going to try to keep the brushes a little bit bigger. At first I might get smaller, but I like to force myself to try to use larger brushes. Okay. So like this value in the back, for example, it's a little bit purple in hue, and to get that, like a good thing to do would be to mix ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson, but black and cadmium red work as well. I'm just putting on the paint right now. I'm not going to really put any oil into it. Not at this stage. Maybe in a little bit. All right, I want to see what this is. Do I do watercolors sometimes, Lemo art? No, I don't, but it would be beneficial to me if I did. Just saying, okay. Reflection, there's not that much reflection, sorry, looking at it. Okay, there's not that much reflection, that's good. I like that so far. Hopefully it stays that way. I did some experimentation with the setup before. It was when I did brush strokes that way that it catches the light, which means that one is hitting it. If I can do that, it will, okay. Or is it that one? Might be that light. Okay. Now these are filberts, and this one is filbert 4, and it's Winsor and Newton professional professional grade. See, so I can kind of cool it down. You see how I cool it down some? Do you see the difference? I don't know if you can see the difference too much between these values right here because the color's washed out in my iPhone, but there is somewhat of a difference. Now I'm not starting with the lightest light. I'm kind of going through and I'm going to softly, and I'm not going to worry about getting the exact color. I'm just going to go through and try to correct some of the shapes with this kind of mid-tone brush. And the mid-tone is good because I can go either way with it in terms of value. I can make it lighter, I can make it darker without it really being a dramatic push. So it's a very good way to start. You kind of keep it very simple in the beginning. And right now I'm just treating this like a pencil drawing, and I'm trying to correct the shapes. I'm just brushing this on very thinly and transparent. This would be, I don't know if you want to call it scumbling. Scumbling is when you're making the surface underneath. The surface underneath would be darker and you're bringing it up lighter. It normally produces a bluish tint to it. Makes it a little bit bluer, whereas glazing would be the opposite. That you're actually making something darker, make a warmer hue, which I like more. Okay. There. All right. So it's very grayed out right now, which is okay. We work it. Get this. We gotta get this drawing correct. Make sure this distance is correct here. 1, 2. So the angle's off in the feed. Like I said, this is something I'm gonna have to correct for you guys at some point. This is very soft here. I'm just keeping it soft, right? I don't want to make a sharp angle right there. I'm just trying to understand the form. And notice I'm not really loading the brush with a lot of paint at this phase. You kind of have to set the table for what you're working with. Start at the top. Okay. Rose. Hey, Rose. Say some cadmium. Rose is telling me. Rose works in the studio with me. She's like, it sucks. Add some cadmium. Should come in here, paint. Should be in here, then you can critique me in person. She was in my last video too, by the way. In case y'all haven't seen it, you should check it out. I'm sure you have though, because it's so popular. What do you think about non-academic work? I like it. It depends on what it is. There's a lot of stuff that I think is just BS, but there's a lot of stuff where I think has merit to it. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of stuff out there. But I like a lot of different type of work. But what I don't like is when people just make up BS. Like, yes, this is like breakfast in the morning. It's like your flowers for breakfast, and it's this, you know, somebody who can't paint, but they're using that instead of working on their skills. There's a huge explanation of what it is beside of it. And a piece of art should speak for itself for the most part. Historical paintings, might need a little explanation on the side exactly what it is, and then you make sense of it, but it still needs to speak. But I like all sorts of work, honestly. All sorts. All sorts. All right, this needs to come out some. Let's mix more of this. So what I like about the limited palette too, it gives it kind of this rustic look when it's done right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, limo art, it depends on what it is, It really depends on what it is. And keep in mind, everybody will have a different opinion on art and stuff, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad art. Just because I don't like it, it might not be my thing. A lot of people they're not privy to the academic side, and that's okay. It really depends, it depends on a lot of things. Ow, that was weird. Okay. This comes out some. Make sure that's not too high, which I think is verging on being too high. This comes straight down. This is going to be lower here. Okay, it comes out. This, something like that. Make them up some. Okay. Whoops. Oh, cool. Lemo, you like Van Gogh, but also Rembrandt. That's cool. Van Gogh was interesting, I have to say. He was a character, if anything, if nothing else. That kind of comes out just a little bit. Okay. Okay. So I'm not going to go with a lot of brushes. I'll probably end up having about 4, maybe 5 tops. 4, maybe 5 tops. Actually, let's do this. Try to push the color just a little bit. Normally along this temple area, it's a little bit more greenish / orange. Normally it is. So I'll push the green to it, which I need to mix more of that green, don't I? Say greenish, yellow, there. All right. See if we see more. I don't think so. I'm going to go through and I'm going to heat this up. Normally up in the forehead you'll find more oranges, normally. With exceptions to certain people. I'm just going to be putting on basic brush strokes here. I want this lighter. Let's get a lighter brush here. It's too high. Art Van Gogh did over 800 oil paintings and more than 1,000 drawings. He was so motivated. That is a lot. That is a lot, yeah. He had a fire. I'm just basically trying to establish a value range. I'm not going to worry as much about transitions and all that stuff at this point. I'm just trying to get the big basic impression of what we have here. So I'm trying to like see the whole shape, like everything. So just as you fix the drawing by looking at the overall shape, you also manage colors in the same manner. Let me see how this is looking on the feed really quick since I don't have the feed pulled up. Give me 1 second. Okay, it looks okay. It's looking okay. Oops. Right. Let's go with this here. There we go. Lemma, the color temperature of the head are yellow, red, and cool, and color like example blue or purple. The color temperatures of the head are yellow, red, and a cool color like blue or purple. Right? Maybe more in the lighter areas, the purple. Okay. This, let's go through and actually, the last brush will be this. Do this. Let's do this. There we go. down there. A little bit darker. This is kind of fading back, but there is form in there. I can't lose it 100%. Not 100. Just cool that down just a little. Put more red, really push the red here. Cool it, red. All right. Transition. Work on the drawing. Push the red value a little bit more. I'm going to lay it down with a darker value and then come over it with a lighter value. There. Let's push it just a little bit up here. It fades back. Just a slight bit. Whoops. There we go. And then I'm going to actually, using this very saturated color, I'm going to add a little bit of orange and green it down just a little bit here, maybe a little bit. You know what? Green that down some. Some value like that, and we're going to bring this value here at the bottom, which is darker than it is. It should be right now. I'll bring the light up in it. See if I can use this value anywhere else. Let me see how it looks up here. It's a little bit washed out for how vibrant it is up top. Let's go through, use this in just a little bit. There we go. There we are. Okay. Van Gogh only sold one painting during his lifetime. Is that it? Oh, that's depressing. Ooh, that's rough. That is rough. That is, that's rough. Can't imagine. Okay, let's bring the light up into the face a little bit. It kind of falls, and it's a little bit pinker as it falls down. It gets slightly darker. There we go. Let's try that. It kind of flows down. So we haven't really been working the transitions up at this point. Hey bros. So any advice on sharing a studio space with a total jerk painter who thinks he is better than everyone else? Yeah, just do whatever he says and you know, treat him right and he'll be good to you. Simple as that. Win him over. What are you going to say to that, huh? it's like, oh, that's too red. What are you going to do? But for real, how do you keep your transition shades distinct but still transparent? Distinct but still transparent? Ow! You just need to be precise with them and set it up for it. I mean, light, dark, and then in between you put the midtone down. But if you go through and blend it too much without putting a separate midtone, it's going to look very like yogurty, I guess. Called R27. I'm thinking of booking a painting workshop in Florence with Alpe EFE. Are you familiar with his work? No, I'm not. I'll look it up though. A real jerk won't answer that question. Thank you, Called R27. Suck it. Suck it, Rose. All right. So I'm not just trying to get the color. I'm a broken record. I'm trying to get the drawing right and bring the values up at the same time. I don't want to spend all day on this painting. I want y'all to get something out of this, but at the same time, I'm trying to get the drawing more or less correct. We'll go through and we'll start detailing and all that stuff here. And, but, you know, for now, just trying to get a nice light impression. I haven't really used any medium either. It's kind of just like really quick alla prima. All right, so I'm really trying to just work the drawing here. When it turns, it's a little bit darker and a little bit more orangey. So I'm going to go through and try to keep it light, but there's a lot of color there. Might be too saturated with color. Maybe something like this. Try that. I don't want it to be too much. It can't be too. Also, you need to put it on so you guys can see it. The light, okay, if I do brush strokes like that, it's hard. So I think if I do it that way, I can't see it that well, huh? Alla prima painting. That's right. This is an alla prima. In one shot at the first. At the frickin' first. Let's really make that turn. Let's try to make this turn. I'm going to really push the color here. I like that. It's kind of like, I need to push the color and the transition. So I'm laying the groundwork. There's going to be some drawing problems in this. It's going to be a quick one. Nose, the bridge of the nose is too thick. Eye socket's just freaking, I'm not even going to go there, but we'll fix it. As we fix everything. It's going to be a slightly darker transition. That's too dark. I'm going to heat it up with some red, but it has a touch of orange in it. This might be too dark, so I'm going to go towards this darker area right here, which that is more or less the correct value. That's close. That's close. I like that. So I'm kind of going with the form. It's really cool when you can go across it like that. John Singer Sargent was very good in lifting his brushstroke to make a transition. Oh, it was so awesome just seeing that stuff. If you've seen his work in person, you're like, I can do that. And then you get to the palette, you're like, I can't do that. Okay, and I'm going to slowly, I'm working the drawing at the same time. The transition is messed up in here, but this might be too light for this area. That's in the ballpark, but it's losing its saturation. I don't want that all to be the same either. I'm going to go through and slowly shift it to the darker area. I'm coming in on one of the brushes that I have, but it's okay. A little bit loose with that. So again, limited palette. There's a lot you can do. Cadmium red, the one from Michael Harding's, which is what I use, is very good at tinting. It's a very powerful red. So you can push the darks and have the color. That's too red, but that's okay. I'm just going to leave it there for now. I might echo it up here just a little bit, though this is going to be a greener transition going up. So let me do that. I'm going to take the green. I need to mix more green. Let's green this up. I'm going to take this, and I think it's something, a value like that. We're just going to slowly push it in. So that's a little bit lighter than I wanted, so I'm going to bring it up higher because that's the transition. Going up higher like that. I need to darken it. So I'm going to go back to this brush here. No! I just painted my computer. I'll fix it. Wait, I'm going to fix it now because otherwise I'm going to get this on me. 1 second. All right. Ninja. Okay. Barack. I know these. Yeah, I'll have to check him out. Yeah. This. Okay. You go up in the forehead. I'm going to gray this or green it up a little bit. There's a transition that turns it with its contrasting green right here and its value, which is slightly darker. So that's slightly darker, it's slightly greener. I'm not going to worry about like really brushing it in. I could have done that better. I think it maybe is slightly darker. Let's actually add a little bit of black. Okay, this is pushing it, but this would go more towards the bottom. Oh, went too high up. Okay, I'm getting too meticulous with it right now, which I don't want to do. But this value I think is over here as well. It needs to be grayed out more. Let's do this. Let's do that. My head needs to come up maybe just a slight bit. Let me fix the eyebrows first. The eye sockets are just horribly pathetic right now. in a second, I'm really going to push the color in there. I'm actually going to exaggerate it slightly. I try to push the red in to make it a little bit more vibrant to look at. And color and shadows is so important, and a good red is also almost equally as important because it's what enables you to get vibrancy of colors, which oftentimes in shadow shapes, it's a very deep red that makes it really pop. You know, so let's do this. This is going to be fun. We're just going to take some black, and we're really going to push this. And just a touch of red, because I don't like going straight black. There we go. We're just going to squint down, and we're going to bring this up into it some, but I'm going to do this kind of thin. I'm not going to really paste this on, if that makes sense. There we go, and then kind of bring that up into it. And this will create a little bit of a cooling effect, a little bit different than what you would see if I just continued with my normal shadow value. There we go. Kind of mesh that in a little bit. Let's do this. Just for the sake of being consistent with the impression. Some value in there. Still needs to be cooler. Just keep it very cool. How's that? We'll try, it's a little bit lighter, a little bit cooler. Should actually be up here. I hope I'm not blocking the camera. Did you just use black for the shadows initially? Sorry. Yeah, so the shadows normally, like this one's black, yellow, and red. This is black with just a touch of red. Like if I was to do this, I'd do black and some blue to it, maybe, but I'm not using blue, and this was just fine. Yeah, it has some red. It has some red. Just blocking it in. Okay, Cold R27, I'm just wondering why you would go with cool shadows initially and then warm them up instead of going in with more red right away. Sorry if it's not a dumb question. Going with cool shadows initially. Well, I mean, you can, look, it's not about going in cool shadows. You want to get in the ballpark so you can go either warmer or cooler, right? Like everything in here has red. And I always prefer to have things warmer and then maybe cool it up some, unless you absolutely know it's going to be a certain way. But I mean, They were still warm. It's just let's put it this. They were still warm. I just pushed the value. I pushed that warm some. That's all. You can do that. You don't need to have it like you don't need to be so stingy with it. In other words, I'm just trying to get the impression back with this. Be as faithful to as I can with impression. We have some. Gray that out, but it's still going to be a brownish value. It might be a little bit lighter though, which it probably is. Good. I'm glad that made sense. And those are good questions. Look, there's no stupid question here. There really isn't. There isn't. I know how you feel though, because when I first started training, I didn't even know what to ask though. I was like, I don't even know where to start to even ask a question. That's how foreign everything was to me. Right. So I'm not, as you can tell, I've worked around this whole area here, and I'm just trying to get like, the overall impression of everything. And shoot, this area is just weak. This is weak. 1 second. Let me fix this. It's coming down some. This is coming out. Comes in. Okay. This comes up. It's actually higher. Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's good to ask questions. It's good to ask questions. And like I said before, I mean, it's good for me because it gets me to think. Because some things I do without thinking, and then other things I'm ignorant of, and it helps when somebody says something because then I can study it. And I'm not going to pretend like I know absolutely everything there is to know about everything. This is just, it's not the case. Too much. Here. Let's do this. Right here. So that's a much more vibrant and warm color right here. I'm going to kind of bring this up into it. Scoop off what was underneath, kind of fade it up into it, and I can work on the transitions. I'm just trying to get the overall effect and get the color in the ballpark. And you guys, seems like y'all have painted or have experience watching people paint, and this is fine. This is a quick painting, but it's setting the table, and I could always go through and expand this if I really wanted to, right? But the main thing is just to try to be as faithful as you can to the drawing. Really think about what you put down before you put it down. And I think I talked about this in the last stream. A lot of it is just sitting there thinking about it, right? You just got to sit and think about what you're doing. Oftentimes this is how I looked. The academy, just stop, sitting, thinking, trying to figure it all out, right? So, it's up in here. This, you work on the hand, but this is what makes the decisions and helps you know where the hand goes. It's so important. Okay. Let's get this area. Which is the back of the head, or the side of the head. See that? Is that close? That's close. It's going to be slightly darker. It's going to be lighter up top. Whoops. Okay, and then going down, it's going to be a little bit lighter in that area. And okay, so let's make this lighter up top. It's transitioning over, but it's a light, cool touch of red, something like that. And like I said before, I think my head's a little bit low. This might come up some. Brush that down just a little bit, work that transition so I can start painting over certain parts. Oh, that was too light. That was a bad placement. Bad placement. It's too. Okay. I think I see what's going on. Did I just saturate my light brush? Yeah, whatever. Okay. Okay. Let's bring this up. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. Like, okay, but that was like more vibrant, I remember. That was the value right there. Let's bring that in. Okay. I'm going to make this sharp, but then fade. This top, and then it fades. All right. Okay. And then I'm going to bring this and make this a little bit darker here, but still saturated with some color. I scooped it, I pressed it up onto my brush. So that's like a technique you can kind of use. Mix the color, but then you can shape the brush by how you press it onto your palette, and then kind of scoop the paint up if you know how you want to place it. All right. This is going down, and then it gets slightly darker too. That brush was working, but I'm going to try this brush, take that excess paint off, and then I'm going to go in a darker value range. And I still haven't used really any oil yet. So this is what I'm talking about. Press and then push up a little bit, and you'll get it kind of on the very tip of the brush. And that way you can use it like a pin. You're a little bit more controlled, or you can pull it like that. This is how you can get those marks. And sometimes you make a mark, you're like, okay, well that would work here. You know, this is an experiment. There's this little divot here. Let me see. Okay, that was too dark. I kind of thought it would be. I'll lighten this up some. It's actually very close to that value that I pre-mixed. For the sake of it, I'm going to lighten it slightly. Press, push up. Got a nice bit of paint and go through. Really put it on thick. Let's do that. It's fun to do that every once in a while. Press down. Okay, same thing. Same value, but on the other side, which is going to be slightly lighter. So let's go through and lighten it some. And then saturate it again. Lighten it just a little bit more. Press, push. Now I don't want to, this could kill the effect, so I need to be careful. Okay, I'm just going to leave, going over something, so I'm just slightly indicating. All right. Okay. I'm going to go through and really try to push that light, which I probably should get another brush, but let's try without. Do that. And then I'm going to fade it out some. go across the form. So when are you adding the battle axe? You figure it out first, man. Wish it was as easy to get here as it was over in Europe. There's actually a Renaissance festival that I go to, like when it's open. It's like in the fall every year, and it's so awesome. They have real weapons. It is so cool. It is so cool. It's just so awesome. All right. It is so awesome. I'm going to leave the forehead for a second to go through and work on some transitions. In the face. This is very saturated here. And notice these are like not small brushes. They're not tiny. And you can use tiny brushes, but it's good to know how to use the big brushes. Excuse me. But it's nice because like ideally you want to kind of work with the biggest brush you can. This transitional value there. But I'm using like the small tip of the brush, and it kind of trains me. It keeps me in shape. It also prevents me from getting too meticulous with it. And so you're able to get like, you know, the form and see the big shape. It stops you from kind of honing in too much. This is poorly drawn. There's a lot with this that still needs a lot of work. I like to go to one of those fairs or conventions and just draw folks. Yeah, it's cool. I do dress up too. It's fun. It's fun. I'm not as like in depth as a lot of those characters there, but it's nice. People go and they just have fun. They relax. They laugh, and people need that. Okay. Whoops. There we go. Work the transition just a little bit. It needs to be, that's a little bit large for that shape. This area right here comes up. Oh, I see what I did. Dang. This is actually a little bit larger. Darker. Push the color. Okay. Going darker. Okay. This value. So it's like this is a limited palette, but you learn to push the values, the colors that you have. You really learn how to use them. And so that comes in handy because you're able to do things that other painters can't if they haven't really pushed their palette as far as they possibly can, right? So it's one of the advantages of limited palette. It really forces you to expand your range of mixing, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's cool. Don't want it too light. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. make this a little bit more warmish orange, just a little. We're going to bring this up. And then we're shaping the eye socket as we're sculpting the brow where it meets the eye socket. Working within the range of a brush, which is a couple of different values, and this kind of right here is going to be a little bit lighter, flow in from there. And from here it's going to be a little bit, probably a little bit greener. There, let me, I tell you what, I'm going to do this. Take some green, that, add some solid light to it, and something like that. Okay. And then this is going to be green, but a little darker than what I just had. I haven't read James Gorney's book, no, Limo. I'll have to read that, or I'll have to see what you're talking about. Okay, all right. Looking at the feed, okay, it's coming along. It looks a little different, but that's okay. It's coming. See, I haven't painted before on live stream, so I don't know how it looks. I know how to set the camera up to film videos like of me painting, but for this it's a little bit different. So, okay, I was here. Should be darker, a little bit greener. We're going to go through and really sculpt this area out. Bring the light down to there. And then this value is kind of up here too. I'm going to take this, I'm going to make it a little bit darker, green it up some, cool it down, maintain the value, something like that for here. Up just a little. To get imaginary. So this is really good. I'm glad y'all are telling me these things because it's going to help me out a whole lot too. Y'all seem to be very up to date with a lot of stuff in art right now, which is nice. It's very refreshing. All right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually warm up. This is called haloing. Essentially, it's like haloing the figure a little bit, making it glow, but y'all probably won't be able to see this. I know I'm casting kind of a shadow around, but I'm going to try to make this pop a little bit more by putting a little contrasting red there to make a glow effect. But I don't know how far I'm going to push this because I don't want to go too far in the stream, to be honest with you. What I could do, you know what I might do is just pick this back up on Tuesday. I might pick it up on Tuesday and continue where I left off with this. Depending, I don't know what time is this? 12:30. Yeah, it's getting about that point. I'll go a little bit further with it, catch the ear up because you don't want to leave anything behind, but actually, let me catch that side of the head up too. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm not paying attention to this, guys. I hope I haven't been blocking the camera for you guys. Please tell me if I do. All right, so the ears, you really want to push the color because the ears are like slightly transparent, and so you can see the blood oftentimes in them, so it makes them very, very vibrant, vivid effect. So I always, if you really look at the color, it's not black, it's a kind of a deep red. That was too low. Bring that up. There's the scorpion tail we were talking about. Okay. Soften that going in. All right. So it's starting to come some, little bit. Slowly, slowly, slowly forming. Slowly forming. So I hope y'all find this helpful because I'm trying to honestly, I'm trying to influence as many people as possible to get into classical work. I think there's so much value in it. There's so much value. I've really enjoyed doing it myself, and you can really take it a long way. So I get the value, the light, how light or dark something is, and then I go through and tweak it with the color so that it doesn't look grayed out. All right, let's work on this area just a little bit here. I need to catch this stuff up. This nose is falling behind. So I'm working the transitional value right here, trying to get the shape. Let's go through, take some of this vibrant color right there, which is questionable for this area, but I'm going to see how it looks and put it right here. There's a lot of color around the nose area. That will really make it turn. There. I see a little bit just up top here. Screwed the bridge of the nose up, which I'll fix in a little bit. Let's go through the little less vibrant color. Work that shape a little bit, which I messed up. Way to do this, I can paint that in and then I'll just go back in from the other side as well. There we go. That's lighter. It's also softer going down. That's too dark. That's killing the effect. Let's go through. Let's lighten it up a little. That helps. And go back in from the other side. Try this. Oh, shoot. Using a big brush for this too. I mean, well, you want to go down and use a smaller brush, but I like the challenge. A little bit darker. Let's try to make this turn. There's a little bit of a transitional edge here. There's that there. That was a little bit too much. Let's curve it back. It's like ping pong. You just go back and forth. I want to give it some character. Make sure it's his nose. No. All right. Now, let's go and follow up here, work the transitions in the eyebrow area just a little bit. I'm not going to worry about, I'm just going to put swaths of color down just to make it turn. I really haven't mixed another green, have I? I should have. There. Soften that transition. Squinting, it's in the ballpark. All right, let's make that cheekbone pop a little bit with a lighter transitional, or a lighter plane. So if I'm keying it up, it's not as light as that. It's not as light as this, which I don't even have that light right now, so I'm going to do one that's probably around here. This value, and you know what? Do this. Squinting. Lift it up too soon. Cool. 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 Yellow. This might be too light, but it's okay. It's all right. Don't want to overwork it. And then from this, I'm going to go in with a little bit darker yellow. Still keeping the value light. Probably need more paint, but I think I can get away with this. And then I'm going to kind of press and then draw it out some. Drag it down. All right. Now I'm going to go in, I'm going to continue to go a little bit darker with this brush. Okay. Just a little bit. And then I'm going to go down. I'm going to kind of work the edge just a little. Not too much, because I don't want to lose form. Let's bring this up just a little. Let's see if we can. No, I'm not going to mess with that. Okay. Right. Okay, now stop. Actually, that's too bright. Let's go back up here. I'm going to go through and get this area up top here. There we go. That should be close. All right. I'm actually going to do a little blend right there. Soften that for drawing purposes. Go through with some lights. My light brush is getting progressively darker, but that's okay. It's okay. Right. Okay. Guys, I'm almost done with this one. I can always, it says there's 4 of you guys. Actually, wait. There's still people. I don't know if anybody's even still in here. One second. Okay. Oh, you are. Okay, sorry. I'm still learning how to read this. It's kind of weird. Anyway, I could keep on working this up, but I'm thinking to myself, maybe I take this to next Tuesday. I'm thinking of doing streaming for now. I want to get up to 3 times maybe, but I'm thinking of streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays, just to start, just to get used to it. But I could always, get back into this then. I don't need to finish the whole thing right now. That way I could push this. This is actually not a bad color study. It's not bad. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. And that way I can just get back into this and push it for the next stream. That might be a good thing because we've been going on for over 2 hours anyway. All right, but Queldar, thank you for watching, and anybody else who's watching right now too. I'm sorry, I can't really tell. Yeah, thank you. And you guys have a very nice weekend, all right? Hey, Abs. Awesome. Okay, cool. Hey, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for watching. And I'll be back on Tuesday at 10:30 Eastern time in America. You guys take care. Y'all have a nice weekend.